Hey everybody, my name's Tessa Nelson, and this week I was assigned to do my theory and focus, which is on cognitive, moral, and faith development. And I got just their title page here. It's APA, so like it's from the Department of Social Work. It's for Social Work 510, Human Behavior, with our professor, and here's the date. All right, so first we're going to start with Jean Piaget, and he was a Swiss psychologist and biologist who was primarily interested in cognitive development, definitely through children. So he studied his own children and eventually others, and he discovered his theory of cognitive development. And so it has four underlying causal factors before we begin to get into the main theory. And so maturation leads to physical growth. Physical experience means like that action with the environment leads to assimilation and accommodation. Social interaction is the interchange of ideas between two people. And equilibrium, an internal self-regulating system that reconciles maturation, experience, and social interaction. So all three of those ones, contributes to equilibrium. And so here's the actual four stages. And so he had birth to age 2 with sensory motor, and children begin to develop complex behavior with coordination of their senses. They learn about object permanence and look for a removed object. And then pre-operational period is 2 through 7. The behavior sequence of a child can now be played out mentally, not just physically. And so they become less egocentric and more social. And then concrete operations is 7 through 11. Children will develop reason over perception. They will be able to undo an action in their mind. They begin to understand conservation when the properties of an object do not change because its appearance is altered. And so formal operations is 11 through 15, and scientific reasoning begins. Problems are now approached using logic. Hypothetical reasoning is now possible. And so there's a lot of debate about whether this was an all-encompassing theory or not. And so there are two other theories that were also developed. Robert Sternberg believed that he used obscure tasks to determine intelligence, that Piaget didn't quite, get it on point. He believed that basing it on how well children perform in school was not all-encompassing. So we theorized about 3 different kinds of intelligences that cover basically the ability to do well on tests, the aptitude of creative thinkers, and those who have developed street smarts. So for him, there were different areas of intelligence that he investigated instead of just focusing on Piaget's, which seemed like it was more school-based. And then the theory of multiple intelligences came out as well. Howard Gardner believed that there were 8 intelligences instead of just 3, and that they were not synonymous with one another and needed different tests to determine the level of intelligence in those separate areas. And so Piaget also came up with the theory of moral development. And so he had 2 different stages. One was 5 through 10, and the other one was 10 to adulthood. So 5 through 10, the rules are basically laid out by authority figures, and children do not understand the reason for rules, but they grow to respect and follow them. And stage 2 was children become aware for the reasons of rules, and they are regarded with consent and respect. However, this person named Lawrence Kohlberg disagreed with Piaget's theory. He didn't think that it was developed enough and didn't believe that moral reasoning was developed by age 10. So he established like his own theory. And there are 6 stages in his theory. Obedience and punishment orientation. So this is stage 1. There is no internalized awareness of right and wrong. Rules are imposed by authority figures, and children follow rules to avoid punishment. Stage 2 is the naively egotistic orientation. And in this stage, children follow rules to gain rewards and favor, and they satisfy their own needs without like the thought of other people. However, in stage 3 is a good boy, nice girl orientation. And during this stage, children will follow the rules for social favor and to avoid social disapproval. And so like I work in an elementary school, and I see this quite a bit where if someone doesn't have it, like if like there's a kid who will act out and get like social, like we were watching Wonder in the classroom, and he made fun of the main character, which is kind of like the whole point of the movie, to not do that. And a lot of the kids reacted against him, and then he realized, oh, hey, that wasn't right because my peers disagreed with me and I did something wrong. And so that's kind of good boy, nice girl orientation. Stage 4 was authority maintaining morality. So they begin to understand the larger society and social order. They begin to believe in uniform and fair application of laws, and they show respect for the social institutions and for the rules that those have. And then stage 5 was contractual legalistic orientation, which means people choose moral contracts to guide their lives. Laws violate human rights and should be challenged. A distinction between law and morality emerge. So this would be like when we see maybe they begin to understand that law doesn't always reflect like the morals of society and what we should stand up for. And then the last one is universal ethical principle orientation, and it's autonomous morality based on individual moral header and based on individual moral principles like compassion and other things, instead of just focusing on like the legal law. It's like each of these stages kind of transition through one another. And then Carol Gilligan had some critiques about Kohlberg and his theory of moral development. And she thought that it failed to account for gender differences between male and female development. So she believed that women develop morals from relationships and responsibilities rather than just principles and rules. And this led her to develop her own theory. And so we'll go over that one real quick. And so Carol Gilligan had 3 stages in hers for women. Stage 1 is self-survival, and initially moral reasoning only cares for oneself. Females may feel that they lack power and are alone, which leads to self-survival being the main concern. This eventually causes women to develop a care for others, but in this stage, it's only really about self-survival. But that initial care switches into stage 2, and as the connection between self and others grow, women accept the moral social role in motherhood and understand the responsibility that they have to care for other people. And women begin to make this their primary concern. This exclusion of self eventually leads to disequilibrium. And so there's only the focus on caring for others and not the caring for oneself. But in stage 3, there's interdependence of self and others. And during this stage, women realize that the needs of self and others must be balanced. This leads to interdependence. And this balance helps women realize that interdependence is not weakness, but a source of moral strength. So to be able to help others get help, and then to also put your needs first, are all kind of balanced together. And so now we're going to be getting to James W. Fowler, and he was a professor of theology and ethics and human development. And although he was a Methodist minister, he attempted to make a theory on faith development that could apply to any faith group. Many social workers can also use this theory for spiritual development and apply it that way. And so we're going to go into his theory now. And so he had 7 stages to this one. So this is probably going to be the longest slide that I do spend time on. So stage 1 was primal faith theory, which is infancy. And it's consistent nurturance by parents give a basic sense of trust in the universe and the divine. However, abusive or neglectful experiences can give notions of a punitive and undependable God. So right off the bat, it's kind of like how you are treated as an infant and as a baby kind of will help your perspective for the next several stages. And then stage 2 is early childhood around age 2, and it's initiative projective faith. And as children develop language capacity and symbolization, it causes them to fantasize about the mysterious. And so we see this with a lot of stories in scripture where there's a lot of mysterious and mythical and kind of the power of God involved in it. And stage 3 is mythical literal faith, and this is age 6 and beyond. Child begins to recognize the feelings and impulses of others. They learn more from sophisticated stories. They learn from these stories and from the morals of their identified community. Their beliefs are shaped by loyalty to the community, and their view of religion tends to be legalistic. God is seen as a being who gives out reward and punishment. And so that's kind of stage 3. And stage 4 is synthetic conventional faith. Youth begins to take the perspective of others into account. This gives them the ability to reflect on meaning of a person's life and relationships. Ideas on ultimacy are created within the influences of family, social, and peer groups. This creates a tendency towards conformity, and most adults will not usually go past this stage. That was really important to remember, and it was written in the book. However, stage 5 is individual reflective stage, and this is from young adulthood and beyond. Young adults will question the belief that they were raised with. They engage in critical reflection, and gain more responsibility of their faith, especially when their values or the values of others contradict. They demythologize their master stories and seek to construct a deeper sense of life. And so I kind of identify with this one because this one's definitely the stage that I'm in. And so just the question of how you were originally raised and how and like using critical reflection to kind of shape your own beliefs is like stage 5. Stage 6 is like conjunctive faith, and it's early midlife and beyond. This is critical reflection can give a sense of ambiguity and paradoxes in faith. The adult will try to integrate both symbolic and rational claims of truth, and they'll appreciate both of them. So they'll appreciate the symbolic and then the rational side of religion or faith. And competing faiths and faith traditions become more appreciated in like so different cultures and things. Conjunctive faith brings commitment to a set of beliefs and values with openness to other cultures and beliefs. And this includes like, instead of just other people's culture and beliefs, but personal choices. So like atheism or like agnosticism would probably be included in that, because like those are a set of beliefs, but also kind of like personal choices as well. So stage 7, universalizing faith, is midlife and beyond. And this stage brings adults to resolve their paradoxes, so they can't kind of like, in the other stage, they kind of like exist with both of them, you know, like with the critical reflection and then like the paradoxes that can come with that. They need to resolve them in this one, and they take the perspectives of other cultures, nationalities, and faith traditions in their resolution, and in addition to their own like culture and their own faith set. And people who believe in a personal God begin to see people from God's unconditional love, and they are more open to other people and their faiths. The unconditional loves bring about feelings of like wanting to have social justice and social action if there's injustice happening. And it challenges the perspectives of egoistic, ethnocentric, and religiously fundamentalist norms. And so like it's definitely reaches to like a more broader view of like faith. And so that's his theory of faith development. And then I kind of wanted to touch on nature versus nurture, because it was really, really important in our book. There is more research being conducted on the brain and neurotransmitters involved in thought and emotion. The mind and the body used to be kind of seen as separate entities. They weren't really conjoined together, and they were kind of seen as like different. However, more research is being done that suggests that they are very together in like how we react to thoughts and emotions that go on within our brain, and our body reacts to it. So it's very much more connected. And genetics is a heavy influencer in evolutionary psychology and sociobiology. It attributes biological causation and cognitive and social functioning. And so like it's kind of saying that genetics is extremely important to how people behave in their cognitive and like how they think, and social functioning, and like how they interact socially. But researchers also continue to argue whether biological factors versus environmental factors have a stronger ability to determine behavior and personality traits. The research has shown that even though genetics is a strong factor, environment has a stronger influence on determining personality and behavior. All right, and so that's my works cited page. So I hope that you guys really did enjoy my PowerPoint presentation, and I'll be uploading both the PowerPoint and the video to so that way you guys can look at things on your own as well. So thank you so much for watching, and you guys have a fantastic day. See you.